What we have presented today is that on top of the 4 billion buyback that we have already initiated, and we're now adding 3 billion to that. But we're also putting in a general policy.
It's a big surprise from Mercedes. Why would a major car maker stop production of electric vehicles? Let's see what's going on with Mercedes' electric future. So Mercedes had this big plan for a fancy new platform for their luxury cars called MB.EA launch. They were planning to roll it out in 2028, and it was going to cost them a pretty penny. We're talking somewhere between $4.3 and $6.5 billion. But they've decided to cancel it because, well, things haven't been going great in the EV market. Now, Mercedes EQ, which is the electric side of Mercedes, sold about 43,000 EVs in the US last year. That might sound like a lot, but when you compare it to other companies that are just starting like Rivian, Mercedes isn't looking all that hot. Plus, the overall growth in EV sales has hit a bit of a snag. In the first part of 2024, EV sales eventually went down by 4.5%. But it's not all gloomy. Even though they've ditched the MB.EA launch platform, Mercedes EQ isn't giving up. They're still working on the MB.EA medium platform, which will be the base for the next EQC SUV and sedan. And there is more good news. Mercedes isn't just sitting around. They've got plans to make their current EV platform even better. The EQE and EQS, which are their big fancy electric cars, are going to get some cool upgrades. They're moving to an 800-volt architecture, which is like giving the cars a more powerful electrical system. They're also packed in more energy-dense battery cells in which the batteries can hold more power without getting bigger. And they're tweaked the electric motors to make them more efficient so that you can drive further on a single charge. So what's the takeaway from all this? Mercedes-Benz is showing that they can change their plans when they need to. They're saving a bunch of money by not going ahead with the MB.EA launch platform, and they're focusing on making their current EVs even better. They're listening to what's happening in the market and making sure they've got the right cars for their customers. So Mercedes-Benz, the company that's been making those luxury cars for ages, has decided to pull the plug on its project called the MB.EA platform, which was supposed to be the foundation for all its future electric cars, which is kind of a big deal because everyone's trying to go green these days. Now, Mercedes has some pretty high hopes for EVs. They wanted to be the leaders, the ones everyone else would follow. They had this goal to sell electric cars, making up half of their sales by 2025. By 2030, they wanted to sell only electric cars. That's like saying goodbye to gasoline and diesel engines for good. But here's the thing. Even though they had these grand plans, the electric cars they've got on the market right now, like the EQE and EQS, aren't selling so fast as they thought they would. They figured out how to develop this new MB.EA platform, and it was going to cost a boatload of money, billions. By deciding not to go ahead with it, they can save all that cash and use it to make their current electric cars, which is built on something called the EVA2 platform, even better. The EVA2 platform is like the backbone for their current electric cars, the EQE and EQS. These cars are pretty fancy, and they've got room for the whole family. The platform uses a 400-volt system, which is like having a super strong battery that can keep the car going for a long time. Now, even though Mercedes isn't moving forward with the new platform, it's still all about making the cars better for the environment. It's working on making its cars produce zero carbon dioxide by 2039. Mercedes-Benz and their big plans for the future. It turns out that not everyone is ready to jump on the electric car bandwagon just yet. Some folks still like their traditional cars with regular engines. Mercedes understands that, so it's going to keep making those too. It's all about giving people options. The EVA2 platform is their backup plan. It's what they're using right now for their fancy electric cars, and it's pretty solid. It's not as advanced as the MB.EA would have been, but it's doing the job. Mercedes, a big name in the fancy cars, wanted to be the leader of this electric revolution. They set a goal to make half of their sales from EVs by 2025 and only to sell EVs by 2030. That's like promising to switch from regular shoes to only wearing sneakers all the time. Now, the MB.EA platform was like the blueprint for Mercedes' electric dreams. It was supposed to be the base for all their new electric models, like the future E-Class and S-Class, which are like the VIPs of the cars. This platform was going to use some really smart tech that they showed off in a concept car called the Vision EQ XS, which could go super fast on a single charge, kind of like a superhero of cars. They realized that making this new MBEA platform would cost a mountain of money. By deciding not to go ahead with it, they can save that money and instead make their current EVs, which use the EVA2 platform, even better. It's like deciding not to buy a new house but instead making your current home nicer. Mercedes noticed that not everyone is ready to switch to electric cars just yet. The reason for all these changes? Well, the big boss at Mercedes, Ola Kalaniis, thought they would sell more electric cars by now. They wanted to switch to selling only electric cars by the end of the decade, but only if people were ready for it. They also planned to stop selling plug-in hybrids, which are cars that can use both gas and electricity. But for now, they still want to sell an equal mix of electric cars and regular gas cars, including those plug-in hybrids by 2025. As this cannot be maintained, the life cycle of important combustion engine model series will now have to be extended and money spent on models upgrades. According to the handle split, in the coming years, Mercedes faces the expensive and extremely complex task of keeping its portfolio of combustion engines and electric cars up to date. Mercedes is thus following the course of its competitor BMW, which has never embarked on an electric-only strategy. So what does all this mean? Mercedes is taking a good look at how they make cars and adjusting their plans. They're trying to be smart with their money and make sure they're ready for the future. They're still committed to making more electric cars, but they're also listening to what people want right now. It's a big step, but they're moving forward carefully, making sure they can keep offering great cars that people will love to drive. This slow sales gig made the big bosses at Mercedes scratch their heads and think hard about what to do next. They had this fancy new platform MBEA, which was going to be the stage for all the future electric cars. But with the current EVs not doing so hot, they decided to hit the brakes on the MBEA project. Now, making a new platform isn't cheap. We're talking big money here, billions. By dropping the MBEA, Mercedes can keep that cash in their pockets and use it to spruce up the platform they already have, like the EVA2. This platform is what's under the hood of the EQS and EQE models they've got out now. So what's the deal with the EVA2? Well, it's like a reliable friend you can count on. It's not as flashy as the MVEA would have been, but it gets the job done. Mercedes is planning to give it a makeover so it can keep up with the times and maybe even surprise us with something cool. They're also making sure they're building the perfect car for what their customers need. It's like a chef who makes sure your meal is just the way you like it. So what's the big picture? Mercedes is still all about making cleaner cars and taking care of the environment. They're just doing it in a way that makes sense for them and their customers. They're being careful with their money and making sure they're ready for whatever the future holds. Is this a strategic move to focus on more advanced technologies or a sign of trouble in their EV strategy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay updated, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.